Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast, episode 107, The Lymphatic System, Your Body's Cleansing River.
Long before there were pharmacies, there were healers. Mothers, fathers, and neighbors who turned to the earth for wellness. Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Each week, we explore the plants, traditions, and time-honored remedies that connect us to that ancient wisdom, so you can bring it into your modern life.
Welcome back to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast. I'm your host, Jim Applegate. So as I was looking through the systems of the body, there's a few that I haven't done episodes on, and I was thinking, going through the list, and so I found one. I want to talk a little bit about the lymphatic system. Lymph is basically, it's that fluid that flows between, like whenever we get an infection, or it's kind of like the fluid that our body uses to kind of clean up and move toxins, move viruses, and anything that the body doesn't need, it's that fluid that moves it. That's called lymph. So the lymphatic system is basically the body's drainage and defense system. So like when people talk about, they get edema in the legs, there's a buildup of that fluid, that's lymph fluid. So I kind of want to talk about this cleaning and defense network. So on this episode, I kind of wanted to talk about why the lymphatic system is essential for our health, some really simple ways to keep the lymphatic system healthy, because basically it's moving toxins, it's cleaning out the body, and so that's where anytime your body's dealing with toxins or anything that needs cleaned up, that's something that's a system of the body that needs a lot of help to maintain health and stay healthy. And the lymphatic system is it's kind of like a river that flows throughout our entire body. So we want to keep that river flowing strong. Something to remember about the lymphatic system, though, is that it does not have a pump. There's nothing in our body that pumps that lymph fluid throughout our body. So there are nodes where it collects and it gets cleaned up, and then it cleanses it out of the body. But there's no pumps. It doesn't move. The only way that it moves is through muscle movement. So basically getting out and moving. A rebounder is an excellent way to move to move our lymphs, to get that fluid moving through the body. Deep breathing also helps. And because lymph is a liquid, hydration is also key. It's really important to keep the lymphatic system moving. You want your lymphatic system moving as much as possible. It's almost like a river. So it's kind of the lymphatic system could be considered like a river. So I've lived in a couple of different places. In New Mexico, we have the Rio Grande, which, if you haven't seen the Rio Grande flowing through Albuquerque, it's red. It is. There's a lot of mud and silt and stuff in that water. The water is not clear. It is really dirty water. Part of that issue is that there isn't a lot of water to keep the river flowing. But so if there isn't enough water, and if it isn't moving enough, then that's when you get a buildup of toxins and dirt and goo and grime, and it gives you a dirty looking river. There is a lake in Oregon. It's called Clear Lake. And me and my son and some friends went kayaking on Clear Lake. And it is this beautiful crystal clear lake. You can see clear down to the bottom. So we're talking 60, 70 feet deep of clean, clear water. So when you're thinking of your lymphatic system, you want Clear Lake. You don't want the Rio Grande. You want lots of water, lots of movement. You want to keep that water clean and looking healthy, because that's how the lymphatic system works. And the important thing about the lymphatic system is it is the pump for our immune system. It moves all of the working parts for our immune system move through our lymphatic system. So the lymph nodes, it traps and filters invaders, toxins, all sorts of things. So you really want it to keep moving and staying healthy. If your lymph system isn't working properly, sometimes people say they feel puffy or swollen. Basically, you're just getting all that water and it's not moving. It's just sitting there. It's becoming stagnant. That's another example with the Rio Grande. When we were up at Clear Lake, I mean, part of it is that it's colder and it's up high in the mountains, but because that water is so clear and so clean, there aren't mosquitoes. But if you go down to the Rio Grande, especially late summer, you'll look like you're completely covered in mosquitoes. They swarm around you, and that's indicative of our lymphatic system. If it's not clean and it's not moving, that's when you get all sorts of invaders and yuck in the body. So you really want a lot of that water. Hydration is better than other things that you could be drinking, because water, there's nothing else in it that your body has to deal with, so it can just use the water to clean up that lymphatic system. So I've kind of touched on why lymphatic health matters, but let's kind of go into details. So first off, I've talked a lot about it's the body's cleansing system, so it detoxifies. It carries away the waste from cells, dead cells, and things like that. Weak tissues, it pulls all of the stuff out of that, cleans it up, and moves it out of the body. We also talked a little bit about the immune system. So the lymphatic, basically, that's like the first line of defense for any immune response in our body. So if we're being attacked by a virus or a bacteria or a mold or a fungus, it's the lymphatic system that finds it, cleans it up, and tries to move it out of the body. But if, going back to our analogy of the dirty river or the clean lake, that dirty river, if it's dealing with a whole lot of other stuff, it has a hard time moving other things. So that's like really important for keeping the lymphatic system clean and moving. So inflammation and swelling, when people talk about inflammation in their body, that you've got that lymph fluid that's just kind of building up in different places, especially after illness, because you've got a lot of dead viruses lingering in the body and it's got to move it out. So that's really important for making the lymphatic system, keeping it working and keeping it healthy. So another thing that the lymphatic system does is it helps with energy. Like it helps when we're run down and tired. Sometimes that's indicative of something, of the lymphatic system not moving well. So if like when people talk about when you're feeling run down and stuff and you're really, really tired and you think you got to take a nap, and somebody will say, well, go take a walk. And it seems counterintuitive. Why would you take a walk when you're tired and feel like you need a nap? But the thing about that is, by taking that walk and getting out and moving, you're actually getting the pump going on the lymphatic system, and it's working, and it's moving that stuff, and it brings back that energy. Another thing is skin health. When your lymphatic system is healthy, you have fewer blemishes, fewer skin issues, less, acne, things like that. That's all a matter of keeping that lymphatic system moving. So with the lymphatic system, when it's healthy, a lot of people will notice clearer skin, having more energy. They're not catching whatever's going around, sort of thing. And their joints are not as stiff. Their mobility is better. So keeping the lymphatic system clean and healthy and properly functioning really helps with a lot of things in the body. So what are some things you can do to keep that lymphatic system healthy? Well, like I said, first thing is movement, getting out, going for a walk, especially when you're starting to feel tired and kind of run down, in the early afternoon and you're kind of just worn out. Go for a short walk. 10-minute walk will be amazing. Lynn loved Leslie Sanson. and she had a series of videos, a 5-minute walk next to your desk. So, if you're at a desk or something and you need to just getting up and moving will get that lymphatic pumping and get your body, get those fluids moving throughout your body, cleaning up any debris, anything that's nasty that the body's got to get rid of. If you can, and it works out, have a rebounder. I have a rebounder right next to my desk in my office, just because whenever I'm feeling tired or worn down and just needing whatever, I just get on the rebounder for 5 minutes and just do a little bounce, and it's amazing. So any kind of getting your muscles moving, walking, rebounding, yoga, even gentle dancing can get that movement going that the lymphatic needs. So just kind of think of it this way. Every time that you move your muscles, you're pumping your lymphs. And when you're pumping your lymphs, that's your body's natural circulation system in action, but it's also cleaning up. It's your natural trash removal system. So the next important key to healthy lymphatic system is hydration. I've kind of been harping on the water. You've got to have lots of water, because it's the water is what helps that to move. It helps hold on to toxins and helps it move through your body. And if you're dehydrated, that fluid actually gets thicker and it has a hard time moving. So the more water you're drinking, the better that the lymphatic system can function. The better that the lymphatic system can clean out your body. So there's a lot of herbs that help with the lymphatic system, whether it's cleansing, purifying, stimulating the herb or the lymph flow, cleansing, circulation. There's a lot of different things that herbs do. So I kind of wanted to talk about a few of the formulas. So fection is one that is a definite. That's one of the first herbs you would go to for lymphatic anything, because it's basically, fection is a cleansing herb. The herbs in fection help clean up the lymphatic fluid so that your body can better deal with disease and things like that. That's why fection works so well. But it also makes that fluid clean. Kind of the herbs in fection give your body what they need to have that beautiful, clear mountain lake that you can see through miles. It helps clear out any of the yuck that's in the lymph fluid. And along those lines is blood wash. So blood wash cleans up the blood, but it also cleans out the lymphatics. So if our bodies are overwhelmed with toxins or garbage of viruses, or if it's trying to get rid of dead cells or anything that it's trying to get rid of, blood wash will basically, it encourages the lymphs to drain and to clear out, so that then that lymph fluid can carry it to the bladder or to the kidneys so that it can be cleaned out, or to the bowels or whatever. So blood wash encourages that cleansing that the lymphatic really, really needs, because basically it's pulling in all of this trash and all of this garbage. And if nobody's taking out the trash, it's like whenever your trash can gets full, the trash just sort of falls out the top and goes everywhere. And you can shove it down in there and squish it in there, but it's still, if somebody doesn't take the trash out, it gets overwhelming. And so blood wash takes that trash out. Like I said, blood wash helps move all of that gunk, all that trash to the kidneys, so that the kidneys can filter it out and get it out of the body. So again, we're going to hydration, but Bladney also is very, very important for cleaning up the lymphs to keep it moving. So Bladney helps to move that liquid out of the body, the really nasty, dirty stuff. And so your body has the clean lymph liquid that it needs to continue to clean up the body. So Bladney is also really important. If you've ever heard of lymphatic massages, it's where anywhere where the lymphs are, you massage you can massage that area to kind of stimulate movement and stimulate it going. So gland oil is really amazing. That's what it's for, is it helps to draw those toxins from the lymphs into the liquid so that it can be moved throughout the body. So if you're doing massage, you want to mix the gland oil with a good carrier oil, but the gland oil straight by itself would be too brisk and it would really move it too fast. But if you're doing lymphatic massage and just putting a little bit of gland oil in with your carrier oil that you're using to massage, some of the places that really get gummed up with toxins and stuff, the lymphs that really get loaded and they get swollen. And the big ones are just underneath your jaw, along the neckline. Those ones really fill up fast, especially if you're fighting a cold or if you have allergies that are messing with the upper respiratory system, because it's like trying to deal with whatever it is whatever you're allergic to, it's trying to move it out. And so those lymphatics are in charge of that. And if there's more coming in faster than they can move it out, they get swollen and stuff. So those ones are a very common one to swell up. If you have a flu or a cold, the ones along the neck and along the jawline, those ones tend to fill up really fast. And putting gland oil or gland salve along those helps those to drain and to move all of that toxins out. In the armpits and the groin is another place where it can fill up. So, but you want to be careful with any sensitive areas as far as gland oil goes, because it increases the sensitivity in those areas. So another thing is the lymphatic cleanse. So there's a whole podcast episode that we did with Jessica on doing the lymphatic cleanse and why you'd want to do that. So I would encourage you to listen to it, because it'll give you a better understanding of of doing the lymph cleanse and how to do it. So another thing that really gets the lymphs and the lymphatic system moving is like going from hot and cold. So like right now, the big thing is you go from a sauna into an ice bath, or an ice bath to a sauna, or back and forth. Or if you're taking a shower and it's fairly warm, for the last 15 to 20 seconds of your shower. So basically rinse off in cold water, because when you go from hot to cold, basically our muscles tighten up, especially when we're cold. So if we're warm, the muscles are loose and relaxed, and so like it kind of opens everything up. So then when you go to really cold, it squeezes it, and the muscles squeeze tight because they're to try and hold the warmth in the body. But then what that does is it squeezes all of that lymph fluid and pushes it out. So the hot and cold therapy can be helpful. And it doesn't have to be like extremes, like the sauna to the ice. Just going from a warm shower to kind of cold shower, and not like extreme cold, will do the same thing. So let's talk about some of the signs that the lymphatic is not functioning as well as it should, and which herbs kind of go along with it. So we talked about the swollen glands in the throat. If they're feeling swollen and puffy, the lymphatic glands are overwhelmed and need a little help moving things along. So we go gland oil infection. If you're constantly tired, so there's being tired in the evening, or when our body is telling us it's time for bed. But if every day by 10 o'clock it's a caffeine or a nap, that's when there's a problem, and you need to help encourage the movement. And that would be, so the herbs to help encourage that would be blood wash infection. You want to overcome that. So anytime you're feeling chronically fatigued, infection is real, or just sluggish, kind of like having a hard time getting through the day, infection will give you that boost, get you going again. If you got brain fog and your skin is kind of, you've got all sorts of breakouts, or skin isn't looking as smooth and beautiful as it should, blood wash will help with that. Another thing about the lymphatic system, if it's not running properly, it'll actually take you longer to heal. Like if you get a scrape or a bump or something, it takes a little bit longer to heal. because the lymphatic system is dealing with everything else. It's got so much to deal with that it can't put what it needs to getting rid of the damaged cells or the damaged whatever to help you heal. And along those lines, if you hurt yourself and you do something and you know it's going to bruise, like it's going to bruise. If you take and put vinegar on like a paper towel or a washcloth or something and put it wherever that you hurt yourself, where that bruise would probably come up. Basically, that vinegar starts the lymphatic system moving, and it will reduce a bruise or maybe even make it so it doesn't show up. So for us, we always have vinegar and paper towels around, especially when the grandkids are visiting, because they bump and they fall or whatever. And if we get really fast, get vinegar and put it on where that bruise is going to be, it prevents a bruise from forming, which is really, really helpful. Because with kids, you don't want them going around with all sorts of bruises. Another sign that your lymphatic system is not working properly or needs help is that you're getting colds quite often, or infections, or other illness, like, people that say they get every illness that comes around. If you build up your lymphatic system, it'll actually make it so you don't get every single flu and every single cold that comes down the line. So one of the keys to having a healthy lymphatic system is having a healthy daily routine that helps support your lymphatic system. So get plenty of water, get plenty of exercise, stretching, and any of the herbs that we've talked about if you need that a little bit of a boost. But doing those on a daily basis basically gets that lymphatic system, keeps that pump moving, keeps that fluid clean, and it helps your body to be healthy. So it has been wonderful taking some time to talk with you about the lymphatic system. We encourage you to subscribe, tell your friends about us. Anybody that you think might enjoy this, share the podcast. And I thank you for listening. And remember, true healing starts at home.
You've been listening to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Visit drugfreehelpstore.com to download your free Healer in Every Home guidebook and explore herbal formulas that support your health naturally. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves natural living as much as you do. Thanks for joining us, and remember, true healing starts at home.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.